Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Māori Party is pleased to support the Electoral Finance Reform and Advance Voting Amendment Bill, and in doing so we support the reform of the Electoral Finance Act and the associated guidance that it will provide political parties, our supporters and parallel campaigners regarding that precious issue of funding for spending on election advertising. And of course, the really big question that we found missing from the bill, and the really big question that's on our mind, is how do political parties actually go about raising this funding? Because if you look at the Māori Party, we're expected to do amazing things with actually 5 loaves and 2 fishes, if you look at it. It seems to be the same sort of thing amongst our whānau as well. They're used to doing it that way, so we are getting used to doing it that way as well. But that aside, we want to acknowledge the leadership of Minister Power in establishing this amendment bill and the reforms that it makes about going where there is only a broad consensus. There have been a few occasions this year across the House where consensus has been largely achieved, and I'm thinking in particular of the tobacco reforms introduced by my colleague Tariana Turia and the Canterbury earthquake response, where parties across the House work together for the greater good. I have drawn on that precedent in calling for a cross-party accord on child poverty, similar in effect to the one on national super, so that members of Parliament consider policies on children as sacrosanct as policies for older people are. It's a challenge that I hope all members will consider over the summer break. But in coming back to this bill, the Māori Party is confident that it will establish a regime that is fair and transparent for all groups and individuals, as is vital for the operations of democracy. The Māori Party supports the range of electoral finance reforms contained in this legislation, including a register that is publicly available to record the contributions of third-party promoters in terms of their investment in election advertising. We think this will ensure openness and transparency concerning the identities of third-party promoters. We've agreed with the proposed increase in the amount of money that parties and candidates can spend on election campaigning, and we agree that this should be set at the rate of inflation for each general election. In the interest of greater transparency for the general public, it would, however, be useful to know why there needs to be twice as much funding available for by-election campaigns. And given the events of yesterday, we would recommend such information be circulated before the 5th of March for the by-election in Botany. We believe that these changes ensure that anything spent on behalf of or towards political parties is above board and open. The Māori Party has also supported the call of the public for greater transparency in order to desist from the practice of using trusts or lawyers' accounts to obscure the identity of donors. The Māori Party supports reforms which ensure greater certainty and transparency in the conduct of the electoral process. We were particularly pleased that the reforms removed the requirement for advance voters to make a written declaration before election day. From an administrative point of view, this is helpful in removing another layer of costs from the schedule, but more importantly, it removes a barrier to participation. And we are hopeful that the Māori voting public in particular will be able to take advantage of that mechanism. I want to just touch on the move to introduce more certainty to what counts as electoral advertising by modernising the definition. But we'd like to see that the issue of unethical advertising is addressed in the implementation of the bill. Consider the appalling way in which some parties and advertisers have used Māori as negative fodder during election campaigning. We should never again return to the era where politicians gambled on national identity and threatened the unity that has been so desperately sought by pitching campaigns to create unnatural divisions between iwi and Kiwi. Finally, while we supported the SOP keeping broadcasting out of this bill, the Māori Party is disappointed that there is nothing on the agenda signalling reform to the broadcasting regime that has existed since 1990. Whilst we can understand that there were widely held views about this, we cannot forget the issues that have arisen in the past over varying interpretation of rules over the broadcasting period. We thank the Minister for his leadership throughout this bill. We thank the Chair of the committee, and I want to thank also all the members of the committee who made this such an interesting and useful way to deal with this issue. And we note that there has been cooperation, mostly right across the House, to ensure that this bill was able to proceed without further delay. 2011 is just around the corner, and I have no doubt at all that the drive for an effective, efficient and equitable electoral system will continue to remain a priority for all parties in this House.
The question is that the Electoral Finance Reform and Advance Voting Amendment Bill now be read a third time. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Contrary, no. No. The ayes have it. Noes have it. Party vote. The clerk will conduct a party vote.
New Zealand National.
58 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
42 votes in favour.
Green Party. Act New Zealand.
5 votes opposed.
Māori Party.
It's in favour.
Progressive.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
Honourable Chris Carter.
Ayes are 116, noes of 5. The bill will be read a third time.
Electoral Finance Reform and Advanced Voting Amendment Bill, third reading.
The question is that the Parliamentary Service Amendment Bill be now read a